Hi, I'm Daniel James. Welcome to this week's Livewire. Well, my special guest this week is none other than Mr. Tony Robinson from Aswad. Welcome, Tony.
Hi, how are you doing? Today's a lovely day, so I'm in a good mood. It's a good
Good
day
man.
to
Well, I'm glad I've got you in a
I'm
good
not
mood.
doing that today.
You know what? As Bob Marley would say, the sun is shining.
And the weather is sweet, bro. That's right.
There you go. We're tuned into the right channel. So welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us. Now, before we talk about the past, I just want to quickly say you've been recording your new album. Is that right?
Yeah, we've been recording some music. I mean, yeah, we've had some music in the pipeline for a while, but it's taken us a while to actually get them into studio form. So, yeah, there is music being made. And, yeah, it's been a while now since anybody's really heard some new music from us. So not too long ago, we recorded a live LP. We're going to see how that works out. So there's a couple of things in the pipeline, but yeah, something is coming.
How do you write normally? Do you write as a band, or do you go in with something and then someone else comes in? What do you have a process, or do you see how it goes?
Well, there is process. I mean, lots of people go through all different kind of processes. Sometimes somebody comes with an idea. Sometimes you can be at sound check and you're jamming and something happens in sound check and somebody grabs the idea, and then later on we might come back and say, listen, you remember what we did in sound check? Let's see what this is. Or you could be just sitting there, a lot of people now, because of the way the whole music landscape, well, it's not just music, the whole technology landscape has changed.
Mm.
You don't have as many people meeting together and working together like we used to. Everybody's in their little hubs now. You can have a computer and keyboard and all those things. And
so do people send you little? Do you send each other little snippets or?
Well,
sometimes?
You can do now, which is because because of the way the whole connectivity has gone. You've got Facebook now, you've got WhatsApp. People can see each other on camera, so it's like you almost don't have to travel anymore. I remember going back in the days when you heard about Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney recording that song, and they were never in the same place together.
Well, Michael McDonald and Patti LaBelle, do you remember that huge hit On My Own?
That's right.
He was on one side of the coast, he was on the other, and I think the mic was getting waved in the air in the middle.
And how many years ago was that?
I know. So imagine what it's like now.
So the change has been immense in the time we've been playing. So, the ways of working now, I can sit at home, I'll do my little piece, and I can send it to my friend who could be in America.
Yeah.
And I said, can you put a keyboard on that for me? And I can talk to my friend who might be in Holland or France. Those are the way that the music,
Tony, you're just boasting now that you've got friends in every country around the world. That's what you're doing.
The truth of the matter is, the way that things go these days, well, how many people have got friends on Facebook that you never met? You don't know them.
True.
That's the way it works right now.
Yes.
I mean, even us, we've been around for years, and we're in the year 2023 and we're learning.
But that's great. That just shows what an open mind you have to new technology, new sounds, new ideas. It's fabulous.
Well, you see, even in what we did, I mean, we're coming from reggae music, and in the early days of reggae music, we had reggae pioneers like Lee Scratch Perry, Scientists, Channel One, and loads of things which were dealing with the equipment that was there at the time, but pushing them to the limits. When we talk about dub music, that is all technology. It's all technology driven. So all those things in the early days, those are the things. That's what we grew up on. Those are the
Tony, talking about the early days, I've got to ask you, because you've brought the early days up. So you joined the band in 1976, is that right?
Yeah, I was there right at the beginning. Brinsley Forde, George Oban, the prime original members who started to put the thing together. Yeah, we were all in the same area, so we all came from the same area. And yeah,
how old were you boys then? Were you 15, 16, 17? How old?
I would have been about 15, 16.
So
George and Brinsley were a little bit older. They would have been about 19, 20. You have to remember, saying those early days, Brinsley was originally an actor. He was in was it On the Buses? He did a couple of stints on the Buses, and then you had the couple of children's programs that he was in. So he already had an outside thing within.
So were you really impressed by that he'd been on the telly? You know, were you like,
well,
wow?
Within the school, we all knew of him already because he was in an older year to me.
Yeah.
So so from those earlier days, yes. So when the band was being put together, I was a musician in school. I knew George from church because that's how me and George, the original bass player, met. We met in church. My mum and dad and his mum and dad used to go to the same church. That's where I met George, and we used to play in church. So
did you all sing gospel music and stuff?
Well, I know what gospel music is because that's where I came out of. My parents went to church. George Oban's parents went to church, and most West Indian kids would know what church is, even if they didn't go. Yeah, they would have known of it because that's how we all.
I always imagine West Indian parents very strict in like insisting their kids go to church.
Well, that was part of your upbringing. That was it. You went to Sunday school on Sunday mornings. Maybe by a way of getting rid of the kids and have time for yourself. But it was a place that we went. It was to Sunday school.
London, 1975, 76, in the 70s. There's 4 TV channels. There's a couple of radio stations.
That's right.
And you're at school in London. And the thing that I pick up about Aswad was that there were loads of bands doing reggae and stuff, but they were kind of copying almost what was going on in the Caribbean. Whereas you guys, you were writing about your experience growing up.
Well, you see, that was the whole premise of the band, because when we say there wasn't loads of bands in England at the time, reggae bands in England, because that was the very early days. So there wasn't an established reggae music business here in England. You had West Indian parentage from West Indies that were here in England, and they were doing their thing. I mean, the only band I can really remember, when I was young enough in those days, would have been there was a band called Cimarrons, and they actually came from Jamaica, but they lived here in England. So they had been the first wave of those West Indian people coming to England, and they lived here in England. But they actually had a hit, which they recorded here in England, back in Jamaica, with one of Bob Marley's songs. I think it was Talking Blues. So that happened before we. But those were the little inspirations we took from wanting to play music.
I was going to say, what inspired? I mean, were you playing together? Were you at church together? What inspired you to put the band together? How did it come about?
Well, I think with the advent of Bob Marley, it kind of put a picture out there like something that was slightly a bit more international, and it looking international made you think, well, maybe we can do something. That's not to say we didn't. That was the only thing we looked at because we were here in England. So, and we were at school and we were watching, at those days it was Beatles, it was Rolling Stones, we had Stevie Wonder, we had Marvin Gaye, Jackson 5, Michael
so were you
Jackson.
Out clubbing? Were you out clubbing at the weekends? Were you listening to
I mean, out of school, what you're budding musicians, so you're anywhere there's music, you're looking for it and you're in there. So and like I said originally, Brinsley and George were older, so they were the original ones who decided, well, they wanted to start a reggae band, and then it was, you're looking for the rest of musicians or personnel to make up that surrounding. So when that first original collective called Aswad first started, yes, there's probably about 10 of us, about 2 keyboard players. Okay, it was all the musicians who were around the era who were almost ready to be in a band then. So yes, and that came with, rehearsing, trying to find money to be able to get into studios, because it's not like now you can buy a laptop and start something or try something, and you've got YouTube and thing, you can put your face online and something happens or something. In our days, there was none of that.
So you must have been pretty dedicated, because let's face it, working class kids in London trying to get studio time, trying to meet up and put it together. There was a steely determination in there.
No, but that's steely determination. If we were slightly older then, and you get to understand what the pitfalls are, whatever, probably you wouldn't have taken it on. But because you don't know, you just striving because you want to.
But that's the kind of innocence and arrogance of youth, because when you're that age, you don't even know about the pitfalls, as you say.
Exactly.
And thank God you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was, as they say, there was things there that were pushing us back, and you'd make your record and say, "We want to get it played on radio," but well, those what you're playing only plays on radio at a certain time of the day, and we can't play that at that certain time of the day. So and so those are the kind of things you're going through, and then all right, then you might get some studio time. You've made a record, and then you need to be able to put out another record. You need to be able to make some money back with that record to be able to go back in the studio again and do something else. So you're up against those things. So we were up against those things for years upon years, really and truly, because how we established ourselves was playing live.
You know what,
Tony,
you've got such great energy after I mean, I know Aswad are coming up to nearly 50 years in the industry. You've still got that youthful energy. So I'm looking at you now, and you're still giving off all those vibes. I can imagine you at 18, 19, 20, 21. You must have just been setting the place alight with your energy.
Well, you understand, those days, as a band and in the being of music, and there was no internet, there was no thing. So I'm not saying that there was anything wrong with that time. It was great. Socially, it was great. Everybody
How was London? Can I just ask you, because it's all very political nowadays, how was growing up in London in the 70s for you?
Well, all the things you hear about the 70s and growing up as West Indian parents and all those stories are true. We've all been through it. Your
parents must have been the Windrush generation, yeah?
Well, you see, everybody talks about the Windrush, but there's something about the Windrush. When you say the Windrush, that documents a particular time. But if you talk about us as West Indian, all right, people of dark complexion, then that's been here in England from way before Windrush.
The reason I asked you was I always imagine those people that came over in the Windrush, they took a lot of hard jobs. They were bus drivers, they worked in hospitals, they grafted. And I wondered how your parents would have looked at you and your fellow bandmates as parents. They're coming to England, freezing cold, working their backsides off in jobs like bus drivers, whatever. Yes. And then suddenly their offspring want to play in a band. How did your parents react to that?
Well, our parents reacted like everybody reacted. Well, how's that going to develop? How's that going to help you? There's no career in music. In those days, there was nothing like what we look at now. So there was no career in music. They couldn't see that at all.
So it must have been a tough fight for you, persuading them that I'm still doing
it. At certain times, it was start. The thing West Indian parents was, go to school and learn your lessons. Go to school and learn your lessons. That was what will get you through whatever it is we got to do in England to get through. It is go to school, learn your lessons. All right, we did that as well. But then, there was that other side of us where, we were out, we're kids, we're looking around with, this is a brand new world. What can we do? We're leaving school now and we're in school. In last years of school, all right. And when I left school, I got a job, make my parents feel good. And, our first job, it was like I lived probably 5 minutes from my first job. And because it was 5 minutes from my house, every single day I was late because it was 5 minutes from my house.
I love it.
Yeah, it didn't last. I mean, I got on with the job. We all got on in the place. It wasn't a place like it was a horrible place to work. It was nice. But because it was big, and at night time, I'd go to work in the day, and at night time, I'd be playing music. I'd be going down to the local youth club or whatever we're playing. So by the time I get home, probably 12, 1 o'clock at night or whatever, I'm tired. I get up and it's when I know I've got to go work. You go to work, but in your head, you've got other things going on. It's about music.
It's fantastic. I love hearing these stories. It really, your spirit is amazing. I want to read you a couple of things. I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I'm cracking on as well. So listen, these are just some quotes I've grabbed off the internet. Fans of Aswad over the years talking about your albums, because we're talking about the early days at the moment, and I just want to read you some comments. This was about the album Aswad, okay?
Right.
the best Aswad album ever, apart from live and direct. And then someone else said, ignore their latest commercial efforts. This album is amazing. I got it, and it's as important to British history of reggae as the Handsworth riots. It is well worth a listen. There's so many people wrote some great comments. Let me go to some more. This is about the new chapter of dub, right?
Yeah.
This album is without peer. The album has the highest potentials of dub reggae music with absolute precision and quality. Someone else said, this release was one of the first UK dub releases to utilize tape and digital echo on a horn section, aka Miles Davis. The combination of echo horn section and the outstanding vocals made this release a musical tour de force. Listen to this one. This is one of the finest dubs to ever emerge out of roots and the reggae scene in the 70s and the 80s. I'm going to move on because I'm going to make you feel even better, right? Someone said, I remember seeing Aswad alongside Linton Kwesi Johnson at the Lyceum in the early 80s. They were amazing. And then I'm just going to go to another album. So many nice things being said about your music here. This is about live and direct. For me, the best live reggae album ever. So I hope you're feeling good about yourself, because when we're talking about looking back, I know we're talking about the new album and stuff, but there is such respect for you as a band. Just one more. Truly a band that needs to be heard and respected. These records are skillfully played, cleverly written, humorous and touching. Like the best music, they sound better. Put them on in headphones. They are like Steely Dan of, well, whatever genre they want to be in. Because that's the thing about Aswad. You did blur the genres.
Yeah, well, listen,
hang on a minute. How do you feel about those lovely comments? You haven't said.
Those comments, all they do is just make you think, all right, yeah, nice. And you ask any musician, you ask any athlete or anyone that's trying to achieve things, you get one and you want to do more. It's the next one. You never feel that you've made the best thing you've ever made. You always think you've got better in you. So you want to do more.
You know, you watch interviews with movie stars and that's exactly what they say. You know, they go, this is a great movie, you've just won an Oscar. And they say, yeah, but what about the next? You've still got the hunger.
Yeah, because that people ask, you know, because in the early days, it was hard. But what kept us going, I mean, we were around 14, 15 years before any, you know, like the mainstream of music business heard anything about us. We were out there playing live and people on the circuit knew of us, but until we'd hit the charts and cracked that top 40, then it didn't expand like, you know, most bands would have expanded. So we were out there working and doing what we were doing. So that was because we loved what we were doing. That was the energy. That was the push. It wasn't about how much money we were making. It was the joy of making music and performing and watching the response from it and what you get from it as enjoyment, the social interaction.
Talking about you being pioneers and people following in your footsteps, I remember a quote from Trevor Nelson.
Yes.
And he said him and his family, Thursday night, you remember, Top of the Pops, 7:30. I mean, yes. I used to love it. I used to run home from school to watch it. But Trevor said...
So did we. So did we.
Well, listen to this. Trevor said, one night, the DJ introduces Janet Kay, Silly Games. He said the whole family came into the front room. They couldn't believe there was this, you know, this woman representing their whole community. And he said it was a turning point. It was just amazing. Do you remember that time?
Of course, because we Janet Kay is like, she went to the school that was around the corner from us, so we all knew each other.
Didn't she do some backing vocals for Aswad?
Yeah. Janet Kay is, like I said, we were all a family. So when Janet came, I mean, I got her to do her first, you know, reggae recording. I was, you know, I knew Janet as a singer, and there was this, you might know of Alton Ellis, the old time reggae singer too. And he was recording, he had a couple of tracks he was recording, and he wanted this girl singer to sing, I mean, I think it's Minnie Rippleton's song. And I said, well, yeah, I know a singer. I know a girl who can sing. And she was still at school at the time, named Janet Kay. I said, well, I'll get this girl called Janet Kay to come and record. And that's how she ended up recording with Auntie Lillis. And then from there, she met Dennis Bovell. And then that's how Silly Games came around. So we remember the time. I mean, when Janet Kay went into the charts, and we were all kind of like, wow, that means there's a chance for us. You understand me? Because that's what it was. Because like we said, in our early days, those things didn't happen. Those things didn't happen. And, it was, those endeavor to, I mean, you've got bands like Matumbi that were here. Matumbi, who else? There's a few other bands. There was a few other bands.
But they weren't on Top of the Pops, you see. Top of the Pops was like a touchstone. If you got on Top of the Pops, you'd made it.
Listen, we, as a community, sometimes you need representation. You're looking on TV, looking out on the street where you need, you've heard this word in the last 3 years talk about, representation. You need to be able to see a version of yourself somewhere. So for us as kids growing up in England, there wasn't those representations on TV. When we looked on TV, there wasn't those things that made us think, oh yeah, I could do that, or I could do that. It was either saw Muhammad Ali was a boxer, and those kind of things, and even those things look miles away.
Do you remember John Conti, the boxer, the British version?
Yeah, of course we do.
He was fabulous,
Yeah, you know what I mean? And then you're talking about Trevor saying he's seen Janet Kay on TV. I mean, you remember a program called No Problem? Or even Desmond's a barbershop.
Yeah, slightly later on, yeah.
Well, which is slightly later on. But you have to understand that our community, when we saw those things, it was like, wow, we're actually on TV. And then you saw representation of yourself, and you think, oh, so the distance from where I'm sitting down now to get to those places, it's not as far as I thought it'd be. But there is but that was because of all, the work, bands like us, the earlier thing had just, breaking down those little things little by little that trying to stop you from going through those avenues that are there.
So you get on Top of the Pops. You climb that ladder, you did the graft, you did the apprenticeship 10 times over, and then you're on Top of the Pops, and kids are sitting at home watching you, and you're inspiring them.
Isn't that the way nature goes? You see it, I want to do that, you grow, and then it turns over, and the next one comes. I see what you do, wicked, bro. Right, I'm going to take this on now. And then that cycle goes again, and the next one comes and see. Oh, it's like even the developing of us as reggae musicians. I mean, reggae music, if you go back from where it started from, the amount of different, genres of reggae music we can talk about. In the early days, it was ska. Before that, it was blue beat. Now we turn it into the 70s and 80s, and we start talking about dub music. Dub music wasn't around in the 1940s because that technology wasn't there. The music had been, but that technology wasn't there, so there was nothing there to change it. Now we're in 2023 now, and we're talking about all different things. I've heard all some new phrases, reggaeton, Afrobeat, and all these other different genres that are coming. But
and I bet you embrace them all.
We do it. It's all music. Like I said, I've said it loads of times. I mean, we're musicians. We're not just reggae music. We're musicians. We just enjoy driving a reggae bus.
I just want to ask you, talking about innovations and inventing stuff and new stuff coming along, I want to talk about Love Fire. The rhythm? No. Tell me about it, because, that's a milestone. I mean, Dennis Brown ended up using it.
We didn't know that when we were making it.
No, but tell us about it for the people that don't know. How did it come about?
How it came about? We were making our next Island studio album. So some songs you've got written to a point when you're going to record, or you're putting that album together. I remember talking to Bee Gees at one time. Me and Drummy ended up working with Bee Gees at one point, and I heard them say something one day, and even I was a bit shocked. They said they had a hit that they were recording. It became a hit afterwards anyway, but they said they had the song in the studio already recorded. So the song was there, all the musicians had played the song, but the actual song wasn't finished written. The song hadn't been finished writing, but they had the song already recorded. So they had the idea of how the song was going to go. They had a probably idea of the chorus. So the lyrics were there. Some lyrics of the chorus were there, but they had the vibe. So they built the song, took it to the studio, sung the melody. You know, you hum along, and the musicians play along. And then when that's all finished, then he said he went away and finished writing the lyrics, and then came and then recorded the vocal. And when I heard that, I kind of thought, oh, it's not just us who do that, because you know, sometimes you do, how you get to your end point. Other people have different ways of getting. You're heading in the same direction, but you'll take different directions to get to this end point, your finished song or your finished material that you created. But how you get there is all different ways of getting there. So we would end up sometime with songs that we've got the drum and bass, we've got the whole thing going, but we haven't finished writing the song. And we've gone into the studio, we recorded the song, and we're going to go and sing the song. And we go, oh, yeah, but we haven't finished the second verse yet. All right, so we need to go and sit down, finish writing the second verse so we can record. So to hear somebody else, like even though that stature, BGs, talking exactly the same way, it kind of went, oh, all right, then we're not that far away from how it is done. Because there is no set way of doing it.
You're in your little bubble and you're not realising that other bands are doing exactly the same thing, you know?
Exactly, because you're kind of creating on, you know, what's coming out of the air at you.
Yeah.
And, you know, because as kids, you're always looking around and you're sponging, isn't it? You're sponging. Oh, yeah. I heard this. I mean, we had to hear what we heard first for us to decide, so, all right, then we're going to pick up a guitar and we're going to try and play that then. Because we heard that and I like that. Let me try and see if I can play that. And because you start playing that now, you end up going somewhere, you're going to go, wow, all right, let me see better this happening and see where it takes me. And that is the whole thing about being creative, isn't it? Yeah. You hear Bob Marley talking about his creative process. He said sometimes just writing songs, he could just sit down somewhere and just listening to people talk. And that's how some of these songs would come. Because, you know, they're just talking and they're talking about their lives or whatever, and it's all going up. And those are those snippets. It's like we used to say in our early days, when we listened to the music that was coming from Jamaica or coming out of the Caribbean, because, you know, you've not just got reggae music, you've got soca, you've got calypso, and we're all talking the same things. It's just that the bed we sit on. Some people sit on a calypso bed. Some people sit on a reggae bed. Somebody sit on a rock bed. Some people sit on a thing. But the messages are always the same. You know, you can't change lyrics. You don't have reggae lyrics and you have soul lyrics or you have rock lyrics. You know, we're all speaking one language. So all the messages are the same. We just sit on different platforms. So yeah, as I said, yeah. So
this love fire, this rhythm that you created, or you call it rhythm, obviously.
Yeah.
How did it come about? Were you just in the studio?
Well, Brinsley came with this song called Love Fire. So it was Love Fire. So where does the fire of love kindle first? In the heart of every man. And then, of course, then you got to find something for it to sit on.
Yeah.
So that's down to me and drumming now. So we're there and we're playing around with, you know, some rhythms. And at one point, I remember when we were trying to make Love Fire, at one point we kind of gave up on said, this ain't working, let's try something else. And then but we said, but we want this song. So we came back and tried it. And then there was a point that we kind of went, right, we've got something here. Let's just hold this together and see where it takes us. So we laid the foundation, me, drumming and the keyboard player, we laid the foundation. And then you go inside the studio and you kind of go, oh, right. Because sometimes you can play something, but you don't you're playing it, but you haven't got time to actually look back at what you've done. So it's that point of walking in the studio now after you played in the studio, and then it plays back at you, and you kind of go, "Oh right, oh scene, all right, we could do this with it." So that's where it came from, and then bit by bit, we recorded the song, finished it, put our thing on it, put it on the LP, and it's on the LP. We've released the whole LP. So the song is out there.
It must be a thrill to hear
really
Jamaican bands, you taking that style that you
created.
You see,
this is what I'm going to explain to you now, because for us, that song was already out there. So nothing has changed to make it the song that you're talking about now, where all the Jamaican bands are taking it. The only thing that changed from that was to make it anything more than that was we knew, because in those days now you had Jamaican musicians coming to England and bands coming to England, Jamaican artists coming to England to come and play in England. And because we were one of the bands here in England who were gaining a name here in England, we kind of got familiar with, even the musicians then that were coming and going. So we got to know people like Dennis Brown. When Sly and Robbie and those used to come here, we would, even we were kids to them, but we'd like, boy, we must try and see if we can meet Sly and Robbie and Ray, because they were the ones who were like the kingpins of what's going on. So yeah, as kids, we'd be trying to get, wherever they're playing, we try to make sure we be there and see what's going on. So there just happened to be a time when Dennis Brown came to England, and he had a show to do in Holland, and he didn't have a band, he didn't have no musicians, and he had to pick up a band from here in England to go and do this show in Holland. So because me and Johnny had been doing a couple of sessions around town or whatever, and we were in Aswad, and we were in the band and everything, he kind of think, well, all right then, yeah, let me call Johnny and Tony to come and play drum and bass on that show he had in Holland. So it was me and Johnny, Angus, who went and did the show, and then some of the musicians, keyboard player, guitarist or whatever. So we're in Holland, and we're basically at the venue sound checking for the evening. So, you've got to go there in the afternoon, make sure the sound's set up for the audience that's coming later. You do your rehearsals, make sure everybody's know what they're doing. So while we're there, we've not too long finished the LP. So me and Johnny are there sound checking, and we're just playing, we're jamming basically. And one of the jams was Love Fire, which we'd not recorded not too long ago. So we're playing this thing in the sound check. There's no one in the audience, we're just the band in the venue, and we're playing this song. And out of nowhere, Dennis Brown just appears. We know he's there because he's the last one to come on. Once the whole band's set, then we get the singer up and check your mic, and we're ready for later. So we're there, and we're playing this thing, and we're playing Love Fire, and Dennis Brown just appeared from nowhere, and he must have liked what was going on, grabbed the mic, and basically sung what you hear on the record from Dennis Brown, Love Fire. Basically sung what he sung on the record in that sound check. We didn't know the song, but it was just what we were playing to, and he liked it and started to sing on top of it. So when the sound check had finished, then no one thought anything of it. It was just like that was a nice jam, wicked. And then a little bit, Johnny came to me and said to me, "Do you think when we get back to London, Dennis Brown would record that song for us on what we play?" And I said to Johnny, "Boy, the only thing we can do is ask." So later on, we asked Dennis Brown if he would, and he went, "Yes." And we were like, "You actually said yes?" So anyway, when we came back to England now, probably a week later or whatever, we booked this studio. It was Dennis Brown, so we booked the best studio, and Dennis Brown's going to come and sing on one of our rhythms. It was recorded here in England. We're an English band, and we're going to get one of the kingpins of reggae music to come and sing on our track that we recorded here in England. Wicked. So we booked the studio. We told Dennis Brown, to come and record the song, and we're happy. So it's a Saturday, and we got to the studio at 12 o'clock, and we sat down there basically from 12 o'clock in the afternoon to probably about 8 o'clock in the evening, and no Dennis Brown. And at one point, we were just, when you're just enthusiastic, and every time somebody come and say, "Well, Dennis Brown ain't going to turn up today," you're wasting your time. Dennis Brown ain't coming today. And we're kind of thinking, yeah, but Dennis told us he would come. No, we're not moving. We're staying in there. We're not moving. 6 o'clock come, and you kind of think to yourself, yeah, it's 6 hours now. He's not coming. And right, yeah. But no, he's gonna come. He's gonna come. 8 o'clock, about 8 o'clock. Dennis Brown and two people just bounced from the studio like, yes, ready.
Wow. Wow.
Ready. And we kind of looked around like everybody like was telling us like he's not gonna come. But even they were like shocked. Why you actually turned up? And basically what he did on that record was basically done within 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And when I look back at it now and to what that has created from that time to now, it does make me feel warm.
It's a great legacy. It's fantastic. It really is fantastic. Let's just quickly talk about some other great parts of your legacy. Performing with Stevie Wonder, that must have been amazing.
Oh, that was just wicked. Never in a million years I think we'd be on the stage.
Just think of that little boy in Neasden watching Stevie on TV.
All of us, me, Brinsley, George, Drummy, Courtney, all everybody connected there because it's a family. I mean, I sit here right now, but I can't. Me personally, Tony, Gadd, Aswad, Robinson, I can't take. I take one equal share of that adulation than what it is because it took quite a few of us to make the legacy that we have now. It's shared out about loads of us. I mean, Aswad fans, we know we lost Drummy last year, September. We lost him, my best friend within this. So yeah, there's been many changes now within the band because of personnel changes, but that vibe that carried us from those times from now still exists.
I always remember the quote where you said, we're all brethren together,
Well, that is it. And when from where you came from to where you end up now, when you look at many bands, you have to be at some point, you have to be friends because that's how you live.
There's always going to be conflict when there's artists. When there's artists, there's always going to be conflict, and conflict can be good.
Yeah, well, but that's how you drive forward. Conflict creates something that you think. I mean, I always used to say, when we played live, Johnny used to play his best drums when he was upset because he would bang it out on the drums, and that's how he got rid of whatever it is that was in him. When he was upset, that's when he played his best drums almost sometimes because he would knock it all out on his drums. Yeah, so you don't go through life without some form of conflict, and sometimes conflict that is what creates something new. You understand me? I remember when we recorded Warrior Charge for Babylon, the movie.
Yeah.
That day we went into studio, and we knew we were going into the studio to record this, what we call a special or a dub plate. In the reggae community or in the sound system community, a dub plate is like a special recording of a song. So it might be, you might have gone to Bob Marley and he's, one of his hit songs, and you've gone back to Bob Marley and said, well, listen, I want you to record that hit song that you recorded. But instead of saying whatever the name was you said in the song, I want you to promote our sound system. So you get Bob Marley to come back into the studio and sing, "Stir it up, little darling, stir it up." But he's saying, "Stir it up, Coxsone sound. Stir it up now, Coxsone sound, whatever it be." Right. And then you take that song to the whatever the special event you're playing at that weekend. And then that particular song, because you've actually spent your own money on it and made an exclusive then of that particular song from Bob Marley, when the crowd hear that song with Bob Marley singing about the sound system that's playing the song, the other sound system has to go, but wow, I can't compete with that because you've actually gone back, you've actually re-recorded that song, you've actually got Bob Marley to sing on that song and promote your sound, and you're playing that sound against us. We can't compete. Right, so yeah, when we went to go record this song called Warrior Charge for this movie called Babylon, we've gone in the studio to make this song that's supposed to beat every other song that's out there. But when we've arrived at the studio, we haven't got a song to record. We've just gone in there with what do you call it? We've just gone in there with the the enthusiasm that we're
The
going to make
vibe.
this song, the hype, that's the right word. We've gone in there with the hype that we're going to make this song that's going to beat any sound system that come and test. So we got in the studio. We don't know what we're going to record. So we got in, set up the drums, set up the bass, and then it's that time when somebody goes, right, deliver. Give us a song that you're going to make that's going to beat this thing. And we didn't know what we were going to do. So anyway, me and Johnny just started jamming, really. So we're jamming and we play the thing. We get the whole studio sounding good. Got the drums sounding wicked. We got the bass right. Guitar set up now. We're right, ready. So anyway, right, we stopped down. We said, right, we need to record something. And me and Johnny looked at each other and went, right. But we'd been jamming for like an hour before that because we'd been getting the sound for the thing. So anyway, we went to play something and we started playing something else now, just jamming again. And our engineer in the studio said, Mikey Campbell at the time said, what are you doing? So he said, well, we're trying to, find something to make this tune. So he says, so what was wrong with the thing you were playing before? And we went, well, we was just jamming. Well, he said, yeah, well, jam back that same thing that you were jamming before, play that back again. Right. So we sat down to play it now. Now we're creating, so there's nothing set in stone yet. So what happened? I started with this idea I had in my head, and I started to play this bass line, and then Johnny would come in with his drums. And every time Johnny came in, I would stop because what I had in my head and what he got in his head, we're thinking on two different sides of the ball. And so every time I start and he starts, I stop. And I go, all right, now you start, then I'll join you. And when I join him, when he start and I start, as soon as I start, he stopped and he goes, we both look at each other and go, what's the matter? And we went, boss, but it should be on that side. And I'm going, no, it should be on this side. All right. And then the engineer's listening to us and he goes, Gov, whatever you're doing, just play back what you played. And we got, okay. So basically all we did was look at each other and play this thing. And I'm looking at him going, I don't think this is right, And he's looking at me going, I don't think this is right, I think it should go the other way. And he's speaking to me like it should go. But we're both playing it. We're not moving. We just keep it steady. And then we listen it back when we go back in the studio. So he played it, went back in the studio. And then we went back in the studio. Both of us looked at each other and went, but that sounds wicked, bro. And we both thought it was wrong.
You've got to stop doubting yourself.
But that became Warrior Charge. Minute of the credits, people seeing and hearing just the chorus. Don't turn around. Mm-hmm. The next week it was at number like 21. And because I jumped into the top 40 just for that little snip. Now, you're talking about a space of 30 seconds that he might have said, the presenter might have said, well, and next week we might have Ray. That next week we might have Ray. Would have taken that little slot of that 30 seconds of the video of Aswad playing. But that 30 seconds is what connected everybody to that song. And
that was a little bit of luck that you needed to get it whacked up, because the track was such a breath of fresh air. And you know what? They played the number one. Everyone waited for the number one. But in a funny kind of way, you topped the number one because you were the last track on the show. You stayed in everyone's memory. Yeah,
exactly. Because there would have been people who don't watch Chocolate Pop, but they would have switched on to watch EastEnders. So they were switched on, and the credits are coming down because EastEnders is going to start. It's BBC One.
Well, they were waiting for Angie and Den, and they got Aswad.
There you go. But you understand me? What I talk about? Those little pieces of things that have to slot into to make certain things happen.
I'll tell you a little story. Shakin' Stevens was due to appear on Top of the Pops, and he was stuck in Denmark. He couldn't get back. So Michael Hurl, the producer, rang up and got Culture Club. Culture Club had 2 flops. They had one more track, and if their track didn't hit, they weren't going to get the album deal. Shakin' Stevens dropped out. Culture Club got on. The rest is history. Had Shaky not dropped out, they would not have gone up. Who knows what would have happened?
Exactly. And that's it. So, you know what I mean? Sometimes you say, put your effort in and see what comes back.
Listen, all I get from you is just effort, enthusiasm, and an openness to new ideas and stuff. I mean, I can't wait to hear this new album. How's the recording been going?
The recording is very good. I mean, over the years, even the way people record has changed. You know, we used to go and record onto tape and those things. Then it became computers recording onto mini discs and these things. And now when you finish recording, you send it on this trail through. But some people call it the matrix, and it does all these things. Like last time, I remember probably about 10 years ago, we put out a song and we went to do an interview at a radio station, and the lady said to me, "Yeah, you got a new single out," and I said, "Yeah, we have a new single out, but I haven't seen it. I don't have a physical copy. I don't know if you could get a physical copy, but I know you'll be able to play it because it's going to go through all these technical things and it will come out. You can't see it. I can't read the credits on it, but you'll be able to play it on your radio." Yeah, so that whole thing of where we used to be able to your physical copy, and here it is. This is the new single. You see it, you look at it, you can turn it over. I read the credits, who played on it, anyway. All that completely disappeared. And all you get now is, oh yes, what's the name's released a new LP, and you press iTunes and it comes up and it's there on your thing, but you've never seen where it comes from.
No.
All the years we've been playing reggae music and believing in what we do, now you've just told us that it does work and it can work. And from that point, and you can't take us in, you can't give us a red card on that.
No.
That's there. Once it went to #1 and it was written as a #1, don't turn around. Yeah, and I saw it. Yeah, and it registered there. Yeah, then it kind of did it. And even for our parents, we could turn around to our parents and go, "Mum, Dad, look, you see, it can be done." Because in their thing, in their plan, that can't happen. That can't happen. And then when we look at it, I mean, for me personally, to see where we came from in those early days when there wasn't really what we call a urban music scene here in England. You know, we were borrowing from what was coming from West Indies, and we were borrowing from what was coming from America, and we were listening to all those things. But here in England, we didn't have nothing that we say, right, this is England then.
You see, I've heard Elton John talk about similar things, that, you know, when he recorded stuff years ago, some of the people he's working with now weren't even born.
That's right.
He loves the new technology, the new ideas. So, you know, you were talking years ago about hearing the Bee Gees talking about it, and you're thinking, oh, they do it like us. Well, Elton is thinking the same way as you. You know, let's grab that new technology and be open to it and keep creating.
Yeah, exactly. You know, yeah. I remember saying to Chris Blackwell one day of Island Records, you know, we were on Island Records. I saw him one day, and in the time I'm thinking about, you know, the changeover from, you know, record companies and the internet now, and the online, the whole online thing, iTunes, and I kind of said something to him one day like, boy, you know, the business is a bit dodgy at the moment, and boy, it's a hard, you know, it's not like how we used to have it.
I can honestly say it's been fantastic talking to you, and I'm not giving you a load of old flannel.
No, God, thank you, man. No,
it's been a really interesting conversation. Can I just say thank you so much? I really am looking forward to your new material, and I can't wait to hear it. And you know, long may you continue recording. Tony, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us this week, and thank you for watching. I hope you'll join me again very soon for another Live Wire. Take care.